Star Wars Jedi Survivor has so many memorable bosses, and I think really stepped things up when compared to Jedi Fallen Order. Today I'm going to go through each of the boss fights in the game and rank them from easiest to hardest. I'm going to include some of the mini bosses in the game, not all of them as I haven't yet faced them all, and I'd love to know how you rank the boss fights. Please let me know in the comments which one you thought was the hardest. Hey everyone, it's Andrew. Now as a heads up, I'm not ranking each individual version of each boss. For example, you face Dagan Gera 3 times in the game, I'm only going to rank the hardest final one. Coming in at number 8, we have the Ninth Sister, the first boss battle in the game, and she honestly feels like a lesser version of herself than she was in Jedi Fallen Order. In that game, I remember her being much more aggressive, also using a lot more saber throws, using the Inquisitor lightsabers, spinning helicopter style attack, and really not letting up too much. In this game, Cal does feel right from the start like he's already more powerful than he was in Jedi Fallen Order, but also I think she's not as powerful as she was in the first game, and this fight didn't really give me too much trouble. I'd like to go back and attempt some of these bosses with different saber stances and see how differently they play out. For the most part during the game, I was using the single-bladed and dual-bladed stance, and you of course unlock the dual blade while facing the Ninth Sister. At some point, I think Respawn are also going to update the game with a combat challenges style game mode similar to how they did with Jedi Fallen Order, where you can basically have a battle grid and face off against any enemies you want. Once that drops into the game, I really want to test these boss battles out again, try different difficulties, and see how much harder they actually are. At number 7, and this is probably going to be controversial, I'm putting Dagan Gera. So the final version of Dagan Gera throws quite a few different attacks at you, especially the one where he duplicates himself, and is also using the double and dual-bladed lightsaber stances. Even though there were moments where I felt threatened and challenged, facing Dagan Gera really didn't compare to some of the other later bosses in the game, and also the one that came directly before him. I'll talk a bit about that one later, but honestly, at times he kind of just felt like a weaker version of Cal, almost like the Inquisitor Cal from Jedi Fallen Order, which you could face in the combat challenges arena, but with a weaker skill set and less damaging attacks. I'm not saying it still wasn't a challenge to defeat him, but there was no point during the game where he actually scared me, like some of the other bosses, such as Darth Vader, number 6 on this list. Yes, Darth Vader is number 6. Facing Darth Vader in Jedi Survivor was scary, but nowhere near as frightening as he was in the first game. Where in Jedi Fallen Order, Darth Vader wasn't really a boss fight, he was more like a fake boss fight. The game would set you up in a position where it's like, oh crap, you're about to fight Darth Vader, and then it's like, you can't fight Darth Vader, it's Darth Vader! But Jedi Survivor goes where Fallen Order didn't, and actually pits you against Vader. This time around, you're of course using Cere, meaning she has a completely different skill set, different lightsaber moves, and is only able to use her unique single-bladed stance and animations. That said, I loved how much of a tank he was. In the first game, you couldn't even hit Vader, in this one you can, but he still feels like he's going to endlessly come at you, relentlessly, trying to kill you. And I'm honestly surprised about how much damage you eventually do against Vader, and how close to death he actually was. I've seen some people talk online about how this fight occurred in the same year in the Star Wars timeline as Darth Vader's fight with Obi-Wan in the Kenobi series, meaning he was still damaged or hurt from his injuries from that fight, which is why Cere was able to actually do some damage. That said, this boss fight took me a bunch of times to get through, and I think what made this fight even harder were the different phases. Having to watch the cutscene again, waiting, and then Vader just coming at you all guns blazing. If I'm being real, this fight was also quite emotionally fueled, seeing as though what was going on at the time, the fact Cere was likely going to die. I mean, there was no way she was going to make it out of this scene alive, and the fact I was still pretty upset about Eno Cordova's death. Such an epic part of the game. Still surprised we got this close to actually defeating Darth Vader. At number 5, I'm putting a mini boss, the Rancor. Now, I'm yet to attempt the challenge where you have to face 2 Rancors at the same time, but I did attempt facing the Rancor in the cave on Kobo on Jedi Grandmaster, and this thing is ridiculous. It's a one hit if you get hit. The hitbox on his charge attack where he grabs Cal and eats him is absurdly large, and being able to time your attacks slow enough to take this guy out is ridiculous. I've seen a bunch of people attempt this online and complete the challenge on Grandmaster. I'm not amazing at the game, I'm about average, as I am with most games, but playing on the harder difficulties, the Rancor is almost impossible to defeat, in my opinion. I feel like I'd have to spend hours and hours practicing this boss fight just to get through it, but by that time I would have likely completely lost my sanity. Even though the Rancor as a whole moves quite slowly, the attack where he turns red and charges at you gives you less than a second of reaction time to get out of there. I am actually looking forward to attempting this again, but it's gonna give me nightmares. See how we go. okay? We're gonna get this done, I promise you. I promise you. For the fourth hardest boss in Jedi Survivor, I'm putting Bode Akuna. The guy throws so many different attacks at you and has so many different animations, it's hard to predict what's coming next. I personally hated the grenades he throws, which lock you up, and then also the one where he turns red and pauses for such a long time before launching himself at you and attaching a bomb to Cal's chest, which is pretty much a one-hit on the harder difficulties. Initially, getting through the first phase I thought was challenging, but then second phase is ridiculous. He's so aggressive, keeps coming at you, barely gives you a second to attack, and I literally found myself going back into the skill tree to upgrade health points and other abilities just to get through this boss fight. Would love to try it again on a different stance. The fact he starts throwing in force moves as well, the fact he's using his lightsaber in the Starkiller style reverse grip, and then also the fact he's strangling Merrin throughout the fight. Multiple reasons why this fight was a massive challenge. Okay, top 3 hardest boss fights in Jedi Survivor. At number 3, I put Ravis. Let's be real, the guy is an absolute unit. This one took me multiple attempts to get through, and at times I think I even switched saber stances just to try and deal more damage and mix things up because I was getting so frustrated with getting nowhere. Initially, I think I kept too much distance between Ravis and myself, which is a problem seeing as though he has a bunch of ranged attacks which do quite a bit of damage. Not only using his blaster, but also the one where he uses his chain to bring you towards him and then just whacks you in the face. Even though Ravis is one of the slower bosses in the game, and I feel like there are opportunities to get a bunch of hits in, his second phase I found completely brutal, as he throws both ranged attacks, rockets, missiles, and close-up damaging melee attacks and grapples to absolutely own you if you're not extremely careful. I found this one really frustrating, but also so much fun. Something so cool about facing a Gendai, as they're supposed to be pretty much unkillable, and getting the win in this one was super satisfying. If there's one boss fight I want to keep replaying, it's honestly this one. I'd come back and try this with different stances, and also play on different difficulties just to see how much more I get owned. The second hardest boss fight in the game is one of the Force Tears. Ogdo Bogdo and the spawn of Ogdo Bogdo. Oh my gosh, this fight absolutely destroyed me. I spent 2 hours the other day trying to get through this on Jedi Knight difficulty. Got close a couple times, but then just got completely owned. I've seen different people using different strategies to get through this. Man, this one is a killer. There's something so cursed and possessed about these frogs from Bogano. Their hitboxes are nonsense. And especially as you get their health down lower, they become more and more aggressive. The tongue kept killing me, and I know there are ways you can cut it off. Didn't manage to do that during my time with the game, and I'm sure someday I'm going to get this challenge completed, but it's going to take a lot more patience. You need to detach all emotion from these fights. Oh good, oh good, no! Ah! I've also seen ways of using the blaster stance that make this challenge somewhat easier. I prefer to stick with the other stances and try to get it done using those, but man, it's going to be a grind. This one destroyed me, it broke me, and that's why it's number 2 on this list. Playing this game is a form of torture, self-inflicted torture. Trying to fight 2 Ogdo Bogdos at once. The devs were like, yeah, great idea. Let's put that in the game. Okay, this is it. The number 1 hardest boss fight in Star Wars Jedi Survivor. The ultimate boss in the game is Rick the Door Technician. When he first started running at me, I just couldn't believe what I was up against. The sheer strength and speed and ferocity he put into his first swing, monstrous. And I knew straight away I was up against a new type of enemy, a new type of villain, something I definitely wasn't going to get through without losing my sanity. Easily the hardest boss in the game, but also number 1 on the list because it was the most fun. That said, facing Rick the Door Technician has given me nightmares. I'm honestly surprised Respawn created a boss with this much power, this much strength. I don't know how they expected anyone to get through this, and I'm really surprised I managed to. So please let me know your ranking for all the boss fights in the comments below, and let me know which boss you thought was the hardest. Also, if you'd like to see me in immense pain trying to defeat the Ogdo Bogdos, you can watch this video here. And also follow me on Instagram, Twitter, join my Discord and TikTok for lots more of me and Star Wars and everything. And thanks for watching this. My name's Andrew, I'll catch you soon.